Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Manydown Overview Committee of the 2nd of November. I will just very quickly start off with the fire evacuation procedure for this evening. There are no alarms scheduled for this evening, therefore, if the fire alarm sounds, please evacuate the building immediately. The fire exit is located at the rear of this room. Go down the back stairs and meet in the War Memorial Car Park. Apologies for absence and substitutions. There are none. However, I know Councillor James needs to leave by 10 to 8 this evening. Declarations of interest? Yes, Councillor Potter?
Thank you, Chair. I think it's appropriate. I've got a non-disclosable pecuniary interest that I need to declare. I think my partner's daughter works for Remarkable, which is one of the firms obviously employed as consultants. She lives in London, she works in London, she's not associated with the Manydown contract in any way, but nevertheless I think it's probably appropriate that I make that declaration. See Councillor Isaac smiling, so that's good, I've got it right. Anyway, that's my declaration, Chair.
That's fine, and I'm sure, that gets noted? Yeah. Okay. Urgent matters, there are none. Minutes of the committee meeting held on the 22nd of May, 26th of May even, not 2nd. Can I take those as signed and that everyone's happy? Not signed, read. I will get this right. That's fine. I'll sign those at the end of the meeting. Which brings us on to paper B, which is the Manydown project update. What I'll do is pass over to Councillor Isaac to introduce the paper.
Good. Thank you, Chairman. Good evening, everyone. You've got the papers here. You'll see from that there's been a lot of work done since we last met in May. We're now very much in an active phase of the project, making the assumption that the local plan inquiry is going to produce the outcome that we as a landowner are looking for if we are going to provide all the additional homes that our residents are needing. In this update, there are a number of topics that are covered. Firstly, there's the provisional response to the Oakley and Dean neighbourhood plan, which was submitted, as I say, provisionally in October because we needed to get it in front of the inspector in time. Also, the officers with consultants have been making representations on our behalf as landowners, as joint landowners, to the local plan inquiry, which is obviously ongoing. There's been some further work and update on the Five Ways junction. Hampshire County Council Highways have withdrawn their objection to the Five Ways junction, but I think there's more work to be done on that in relation to the technical studies. We have now appointed a full professional team, and I have to say, as the portfolio holder, I think we've got a very strong team with a high degree of expertise in the areas that we're looking for. So I hope that we can all work well with them in the months to come. There is a programme of environmental, geophysical and traffic surveys that have got underway, which will inform the master plan that we expect to bring forward in the spring, summer of next year, and an environmental impact assessment to support a planning application, which we would like to be, which we're targeting to bring forward towards the end of next year. This will also provide indicative infrastructure costings. We said at the last meeting that we would be looking to engage with councillors, and there have been two member briefings which we've opened up to councillors and included in one instance county councillors. In July on the delivery options, and in September a sort of overview of public engagement, and before we kicked off on that, and to get some ideas from councillors of what would work as far as talking to our residents is concerned. On that, we are now well advanced with invitations having gone out to stakeholders and residents in relation to the centrepiece for this side of the new year, for a community design event which take place here in a marquee on between November the 12th and the 15th. We as a project team regard that as an absolutely essential piece of work. Before views are pre-formed about what the development should look like, what it should provide, we need to tap into the knowledge of our residents and to expert stakeholders, and we're doing something here that private developers would not, as a rule, do. So we can make the most of our residents' knowledge, and so I'm very pleased that that we're doing that, and that's well underway. There will be a feedback session following the community design event towards the end of November into December. As the committee is aware, we've also been successful in looking beyond Manydown and beyond 2029 in relation to Western Basingstoke and the west of Basingstoke and its needs and its future. And in that respect, we've got DCLG funding for feasibility studies, scoping studies to the tune of £850,000 for 2015 and 16. Consultants have been appointed, and we're looking for their initial work to be completed by the end of this year, and that will subsequently be shared with members in the early part of next year. A major subject for us to discuss, and for me to hear your views about tonight, is the report that has been provided by the property consultants, GBA, about the delivery and financial strategy. So I look forward to hearing what you've got to say on that. And also, as promised at the last mock, we have a work programme that has been tabled. And I think unless the project leader has got anything further to add, let's...
Okay, so this evening it really is just to note the progress that's been made, and just to review and provide comments. Obviously I'll open up for questions first. I would ask you leave the comments till after, but obviously I recognise that sometimes through questioning a comment is formed, so that's fine. Anybody have any questions? Councillor Potter?
I think it's just containing what Councillor Isaac has been briefing us on. I mean, thank you for that, John, very comprehensive. I just wanted to say something and then just couple it with a question. I mean, I was grateful to Richard, as the rest of us were, I think, for his briefing note in respect to the Five Ways Junction, and particularly pleased to note the progress that's been made on that and the confidence that's being displayed by the County Council and others about what we have before us and what's being proposed. I mean, noting, of course, that we are going to provide a position statement, I think, fairly quickly now, by the 5th of November for the inspector, which will confirm the position leading through to 2029, I think, really, which again gives me confidence for the future as well, and should give everybody confidence, I think, for the period through to 2029, including our county councillor colleagues. So I'm very pleased to see that we've made some progress on that. Thank you. So, sorry, are you confident we'll have this briefing note ready by the 5th of November? That's the point I guess I was going to finalise with. Thank you.
The briefing note is actually predominantly in the hands of Hampshire Highways, and to my understanding they're still working on it, so we're fingers crossed that we will have it available for the 5th of November.
Councillor Harvey.
Thank you, Chair. Could I ask a question on the Statement of Common Grounds that's attached as the appendix? When I looked at 24 of 71, or page 10 of that particular document, in 710, it refers to a phased delivery of a 12-form entry secondary school, and will be seeking contributions towards the provision of 5 forms entry to mitigate the additional pupils generated by the development proposed in the local plan submission. I'm concerned about the strategic implications of that for education across the whole of the town and the knock-on effect that would be in the borough. And I'd like to understand a bit more about that. And obviously you can't appreciate answering it now, but I'm concerned about the secondary education provision attached to Manydown, and particularly the strategic implications of that. Appreciating, not now, but if any response that you can get from County on that, I think would be gratefully received.
I think probably they're two separate issues, but I'll answer both of them. One is the actual 7.10, which is a landowner issue in terms of, and a development issue, which is in terms of what the potential development of Manydown would trigger in terms of requirement for secondary education. So that's what's there in 710. The other point I think you're raising, Councillor Harvey, relates to wider secondary education strategy in the borough. And that is something that is in the CLG studies, education and skills work programme. So what's evidenced in the appendix, I think appendix 3, around the education skills is something that we, that's Basingstoke and Dean Borough Council, Enterprise M3 and Hampshire are looking at in terms of the future secondary education, as well as other forms of education like tertiary and skills, etc. So that hopefully will start to emerge the other side of Christmas in conjunction with that CLG studies work programme, which is the separate part of my answer in relation to your question.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much. I appreciate the point about why it's written in the way it's written, really. I guess my comment would be, to add that, just to finish on that, is if we're saying 12-form entry in the context of X number of units equals X capacity required is one thing. If the county are proceeding with any particular thoughts in its minds of what it wants to actually do, then the earlier we hear those conversations and understand them, for many of us that have schools in our facility and parents and such, the strategic implications of that are huge for the rest of the town, and I want to know that sooner rather than later.
Yeah, absolutely, point taken. I think just specifically the reference to 12-form entry equates to the land that we need to safeguard at this point, but that doesn't mean to say that that land, following any decision around secondary education, subsequent decision around it in relation to the wider borough and the CLG studies, etc., once that decision is made, then that land may or may not be required. So it's a master planning, safeguarding, spatial requirement. That's the reason that the 12-form entry point is in there at this point in time, yeah.
Okay. Councillor Richard, please.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Just a comment, or more than anything really, on the statement of common ground. And when I read this through, looking at page 23 of 71, about the community facilities, it says there right at the start of that item 7.7, they're going to be the location of 3 centres across the plan. That's 3.
What page are you on?
Sorry, I'm on page 23 of 71.
Thank you.
And I mean, I'm not quite sure whether that's actually engraved in stone or not, because of course when we have this community design day, these few days, the event you call it, isn't a community design event, you know. I mean, it's a question of how much flexibility will that have compared to this. That's one part of the question, just to clarify that. And the other thing, of course, you'll all be very familiar with Tadley. And one comment that I hear about Tadley is that it's a little bit of an odd place, in that there's no actual centre to Tadley. I mean, at the top of Mulford's Hill, where you've got Sainsbury's and a little parade of shops, that is possibly the centre. But then you go into Franklin Avenue, and there's another nice row of shops and so on. And then you go into Bishopswood Road, and there's the Bishopswood Row of shops. And when you're going to do something in Tadley, where actually do you do it? Well, probably around Sainsbury, but then of course you've got the main road, the A340 running right through it, so that also proves complicated. I mean, I just wanted to make the point that, you know, in the whole design concept, do you try and create this as a sort of village, which is, I know in one of those member briefings things we talked about that, and there was a feeling that maybe we should have a village feeling, in which case there should be one centre to a village, shouldn't there, in my opinion. And by having 3 different centres, you may be breaking that up and losing something. I just thought I'd make that comment, because it's certainly come to my attention in Tadley.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Richards. So at 7.7, which I think is the paragraph you're referring to, really makes reference to the very initial master planning and visioning that was done last year in 2014, where indicatively we identified a district centre and 2 supporting neighbouring centres. But you're absolutely right, the forthcoming community and design event is the beginnings of looking at that in a little bit more detail and understanding whether indeed it is 3 centres, 1 district, 2 neighbouring centres or local centres, or whether it's any other form of mixture. I think it's fair to say, though, that community the size of Manydown is like to have a reasonable centre in at some part of its development, but ultimately we'll see how things progress once we get some input and feedback from members and community interest groups and the general public through the design event. So at this point we're not wedded to anything. It's just a process of understanding where we think Manydown may go through the public engagement.
Okay, is there anything anybody wants to add? Any further questions? No? So we'll take that as noted, and any comments will be taken forward. Okay, so that brings us on to the next paper. Now, clearly we obviously have a confidential report. I will obviously hand over to John again if he wants. Would you need to add anything further, John?
On what we just covered now?
No, on the next paper. That's fine. Yep. What I propose that we do is any questions and or comments on the white part of the paper, and then if we need to go into private session, then obviously we'll do that. And if I pass over to you, John.
Yes. This paper covers the very important issue of the delivery and financial strategy, and the advisors GBA are recommending that we undertake further evaluation of the joint venture approach, and that's what's being proposed, that we take to the MEC. They think that their advice is that straightforward disposal or direct development would be unattractive, and would either would impose too much risk on the council, or involve the council in taking on board too much of the funding of it. So they feel that the joint venture approach would strike the right balance between ensuring that the council retains a great deal of control and influence over things, over the course of development, and also the right level of return on the risks that would be involved. So I welcome your comments and your thoughts on the paper tonight, which we can then take to the MEC. I think the paper also covers the need for a business plan and objectives, and that when we've got a business plan and objectives confirmed, that can be brought back to members for comment. I don't know, Richard, if you want to add anything else at this point. No, right, okay.
Okay. Are there any questions on the non-confidential part of the report, or are members steering towards going into private session so we can discuss the pink paper? Yes? Yeah? Okay.